Tokyo Music Lab music trivia you can use starting tomorrow.
Kate, do you know Aerosmith?
Of course, I know.
Do you know the name of the vocalist? Do you know why it's so acclaimed musically?
Oh!
Did you know that they love Japanese taiyaki and eat it before concerts?
What? Regular distribution every Monday and Thursday, and chat session Tokyo Backstage every Saturday. Search for Tokyo Music Lab in your podcast app.
Don't miss it.
Japan anime news powered by Newtype. Yes, you said you wanted an email, right? Here it is, crunching through. Thank you. Well, this is a bit surprising. I really felt today that this is actually reaching people overseas. First of all, isn't this amazing? I received an email starting with "Hello Yoshida-san," and it's in the original text. What I'm wondering right now is, Lingueene is translated, right? What happens if I read the English text I received as it is? Does the English part remain untranslated? And what about the Japanese version? Does it go in English then? The Japanese version hasn't been processed separately. It might be a hassle, but maybe it's good to read the original text first and then read the Japanese translation afterward. It's a bit complicated. This is from Andrea, who sent me a message from Sardinia, Italy. I received this from Andrea in Sardinia, Italy. Really? I've never been to Italy, but I remember that Sardinia is an island. If my memory serves me right, I believe it's a place that comes up in the Punic Wars between Rome and Carthage. Am I wrong? Am I right? That's about all I know, but it comes from a place with a lot of history. I'm a long-standing anime fan, and I've always appreciated Japanese culture since I was a little boy. Nowadays, I work in animation here in Italy, and it is beautiful to be able to work every day with something you love. I appreciate your podcast and I listen to it with pleasure. It is astounding what technology does nowadays. Being able to translate that easily and also keeping the imprint of someone's voice like that is simply magic to me. Keep up the good work. Wow, this is amazing. Isn't this quite a historic moment? I don't think Andrea understands Japanese, yet here we are communicating in this way. It's incredible, right? I heard that Andrea works in animation, but what are some of Andrea's favorite anime? I'd love to know. If you don't mind, please email me again at janime1242.com. Thank you very much, right? There's still more to come. This is from Gerald Laskob. Thank you. Gerald is looking forward to your episodes. It's a short message. I look forward to your episodes. Please get together an RSS feed so I can subscribe on my podcast app. When you register an RSS feed, you get notifications for podcast updates. He mentioned that. I have my own anime podcast. So, in other words, Gerald is also doing one. And there's a URL written, www.animeworldorder.com. The order of the anime world, yes. And seeing this technology in action is very interesting. He is saying that it's very wonderful and interesting to see this technology working. He thinks this technology is amazing. I heard that Mr. Gerald has a podcast, so I decided to give it a listen. It's serious English, of course, that's to be expected. Now, while I might be translating in a way that makes it seem like I'm speaking English fluently, you can probably tell from my current English that I'm not actually that proficient. And even when I listen, I don't understand everything, but I did check out the podcast from September 30th. Didn't he talk for like 2 hours and 40 minutes? Laughs. Mr. Gerald, from what I could gather, he mentioned something about trouble with an SD card and a broken computer, right? I recognize some of the terms like SSD and motherboard. I also build my own computers. So let me ask the same question. What's your favorite anime, Mr. Gerald? Please let me know. By the way, there's an X account. I see there's an account called Anime World Order. It says Florida. They have about 4,000 followers. Wasn't there a big flood in Florida this year? I think so. Are you okay? I'm sorry if I'm saying something completely off base. Well, this is it. This program is a podcast that delivers anime information to the world through the multilingual voice translation tool, Lingueene. Based on the latest anime information gathered from the editorial department of KADOKAWA's anime magazine Newtype, I, Hisanori Yoshida, will be sharing insights about Japan's anime situation and culture with the world. Regarding this particular episode, it was recorded on October 28th, 2024, and we are using the multilingual voice translation tool Lingueene for translation. Please understand that since languages other than Japanese are translated by AI, there may be inaccuracies in the expressions, which is something I always need to mention at this point. So, this isn't the only pattern today. I've received 2 more emails, and one of them is from a pen name, Kapain. Thank you. Yes. Nice to meet you, Yoshida-san. The email I received is in Japanese. In the fourth broadcast, there was a mention of someone living in the US who learned about this program through Shinbo-san's podcast. And I found out about this program in the same way, as a man in his 50s living in the US. I usually listen to Shinbo-san and Ida-san's programs, but I've been hearing this program's English commercials frequently on Japanese news-related podcasts lately, and I was wondering what it was. Since I often listen to Japanese podcasts, I thought it might be an algorithm, as English commercials related to Japan occasionally come up, so I just let it play. Recently, I've been seeing TOEIC commercials on Japanese broadcasts. However, when I listened closely, I was surprised to find out it was announcer Hisanori Yoshida. At first, I thought he was really good at English. His unique energy gave it a strange feeling. I initially listened to the English version, but later I also listened to the Japanese version. Thank you. The first time I learned about Yoshida was when a video of him talking with Sue Metal from Baby Metal appeared in my YouTube recommendations. I'm a metal fan. That's right. I've been a radio personality for 25 years, and I often have casual meetings with people who will become incredible figures in the future. Baby Metal is exactly that. The first time they appeared on my radio show was when I was hosting a program on Nippon Broadcasting, a Japanese radio station. I remember when I asked them about their favorite artists. The manager told them to mention a hardcore metal artist. After that, I started to properly understand Shinbo-san's program as a helper. Thank you very much. I remember there was a discussion about VR on that program. So I naturally came to accept that Yoshida, who is knowledgeable about new technologies, would use AI to conduct the program in English and Chinese this time. Thank you. Indeed, there seems to be a sentiment in the company that if it's him, it should be fine. I spent my middle and high school years in Japan during the 80s, so I belong to the Gundam generation. That's right, I'm a bit of a senior. I read Newtype since my younger brother bought it from the very beginning. It's Newtype, right? I have a daughter in college and another in high school, and they watch anime on Crunchyroll. Real? I see. Well, my daughters don't speak much Japanese. I guess they were raised in America. They seem to know quite a bit about anime. A few years ago, for Halloween, my older daughter wore a costume of Satoru Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen. Oh. Recently, my younger daughter went to see Haikyuu with her friends at a local theater. Oh, really? It seems like you're looking for responses from overseas anime fans, so I apologize for being Japanese. Not at all. That's not the case. It's incredibly real. I'm looking forward to this podcast in the future. Thank you. Halloween is celebrated with things like Jujutsu Kaisen, even in the original place. They do it in Japan too, you know? And, by the way, I haven't mentioned my own story yet. Last week, I went to Abu Dhabi. Ha 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 ha. I mentioned it briefly, right? So did you make an Arabic version? I did. I released it. I just uploaded it. Is the channel an Arabic channel? I attached it to the Japanese one. Anyway, I realized that there are a lot of Arabic-speaking anime fans out there. For now, Abu Dhabi. As a Japanese person, I must admit I'm not very familiar with it. I couldn't really imagine what it would be like, but Abu Dhabi has both things that were exactly as I imagined and things that I never expected at all. What I mean is, first I went to the desert and rode a camel. I do things like that? It's true, but that's how it is. I jumped and took a picture. Didn't I jump and take it? The friend who was with me at that time was director Hayashi from Attack on Titan. He was invited as a guest, and I was invited as a talk partner. So we went and all jumped together. We took a picture jumping in the desert, and it was so funny that I sent it to my family via line. Then, my 18-year-old daughter replied with her thoughts, saying, Kirara is jumping. Ha, do you understand? Kirara, jump. Basically, in animations where 4 Japanese girls appear, they all jump in the opening under a blue sky, right? This was the sand dune version. We took it in a hardcore desert version, but that's part of it too. Did you know that Abu Dhabi is developing at an incredible pace right now? Oil development began offshore around 1962, and before that, it wasn't a very large town. That's why there are so many modern buildings being constructed. Since there are no earthquakes, they are building structures that are much taller than those in Japan. And you can see mosques scattered among them. When we see mosques, we often feel like they must have been there for hundreds of years, right? In places like Istanbul or Turkey, there are some very old ones. But all the mosques in that area are actually newly built or relatively new. They are newly constructed properties. Indeed, in Japan, you don't often hear about new temples being built, but mosques can be constructed. Wow, we really have to be ashamed of our narrow imagination. In the midst of all this, the city is developing in such a way that now Abu Dhabi, of course, has a lot of oil money as part of the United Arab Emirates. And among various initiatives, entertainment is becoming the next focus. It's amazing. They even have a branch of the Louvre Museum in Abu Dhabi. Did you know that? Probably not. There's also something like the Ferrari Museum. I think it's called Ferrari Palace or Ferrari World. And they have a roller coaster that goes as fast as a Ferrari. I haven't been there, but I have visited places like the Warner Brothers studio. By the way, I also went to the Louvre branch. They are continuously creating new attractions, like a natural history museum. And there are talks about possibly creating something related to animation as well. While that's part of why I went, the scale of what they are building is beyond our imagination, right? You don't really have that kind of image outside of Dubai. It seems there's also a competitive aspect with Dubai. When I went to Abu Dhabi, it was just as I imagined, and there were indeed some incredibly important people there. When one of these important figures said, "Let's create it," the response was, "Understood." And they went ahead and built the Louvre Museum. The reason we started talking about anime is that there are people among them who really love it. They have immense respect for Japanese creators. So they decided to hold an animation event, which is why the Anime Ania event is being held for the first time in Abu Dhabi, and I was invited to host it. What I found truly amazing was that their favorite animation includes Berserk. However, regarding Berserk, the person in charge is extremely busy, yet they are so knowledgeable that even the editors working on the Japanese version of Berserk are taken aback. Additionally, it seems they also really like Code Geass. The moment I heard you like Code Geass, I thought, oh, you also like Code Geass, and to go further, you like Attack on Titan too. I mean, I've been with director Hayashi from Attack on Titan, and I like Attack on Titan as well. Plus, originally I mentioned Berserk, right? So it seems like you enjoy those kinds of things. I thought, maybe the people from the Middle East prefer the harder stuff. But when I think about it calmly, all of these works feature characters from the upper class who are pretty messed up, right? You get that, right? The upper class in Attack on Titan is also pretty crazy, always thinking about self-preservation. In Code Geass, the royalty is fighting against each other. And Berserk has a similar vibe, right? When we, as ordinary citizens in Japan, watch this, we think, well, it must be tough for the nobility. But what do you think actual royalty thinks when they watch it? Ha 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 ha. I wonder what feelings they have while watching Code Geass. Do they watch it thinking, oh, that's a royal thing, like siblings tend to kill each other or something like that? I thought about these things and returned home, and today I received another very calm email. This is from Nara Prefecture. It's nice, isn't it? The aroma of dashi is pleasant. This message is from the radio listener Yuzukuma Arashika Uchu Dekomon. Yopi mentioned that the mushroom dog is cute and healing. It's nice. I'm hooked on it too. Indeed, the potential cuteness of the character is quite high. But doesn't the animation style sometimes have a dark Japan horror-like atmosphere? That's true, yeah. The very premise of a dog-shaped mushroom suddenly sprouting from the garden is somewhat horror-themed as well. That's right. Occasionally, it emits a voice like an old man, and due to its love for Hotaru, it makes outrageous moves towards the end of each episode, giving it an extraordinary presence that can't just be categorized as a character piece from the very first episode. Above all, HY. They are a representative artist known for making people cry in Japan. As HY, they have created songs that have led to movies being born from them, and they are that kind of artist. Most importantly, the straightforward opening with the lyrics "Dog, dog, dog, mushroom dog" sung by HY really blew my mind. That's really true. Also, I received an email saying that I'm hooked on Acro Trip, and Next Life is better with others this season. Yes, I said a lot of things, but today I'm back with the latest news. It's long. The opening feels like an ending, right? Well, let me just share the important information. The TV anime Kusuria no Hitori Goto. Yes, Kusuria no Hitori Goto has become a hit. The broadcast information for the second season has been revealed, and it will start on Friday, January 10th, 2025, airing for 2 consecutive cours. Oh, so that's how it is. Wait, did the first season of Kusuria no Hitori Goto also air for 2 cours? Did it? Yes, it did. 2 cours. And on January 10th, oh, Jinshi-sama looks cool. Yes, and although it's different from the TV anime, it has global popularity. STEINS Gate. Actually, the day before this recording, there was an event in Matsudo, Chiba Prefecture, not Tokyo. It's called Matsudo Scientist, not Bad Scientist. Now, I wonder how they'll handle the puns. Will they get across? I wonder. Anyway, they were saying something like Matsudo Scientist. It was amazing there. There was Mamoru Miyano, Tomokazu Seki, and Asami Imai, and then Haruko Momoi, Saori Gotou, and sitting on the other side was Yu Kobayashi. Huh? Did I just mention 7 people? Oh, Hanazawa-san. Of course, Hanazawa-san was there too. It seems that Yukari Tamura was the only one who couldn't make it this time, but I was the host of an event where almost all the lab members were present. At the end, there was a big announcement. To commemorate the 15th anniversary of STEINS.Gate, it seems that a STEINS.Gate reboot will be released next year. I don't know any details about the content yet. And I think it's okay to say this much, but from what I heard behind the scenes, it seems that the voice actors have already recorded their lines. I can't say who said what, but it seems like they are recording. They mentioned wanting to talk about it today, but they said they couldn't, which makes sense since it was announced at the end. So there was that kind of situation. In Japan, there is a group of people who are extremely serious about esports called VSPO, which involves VTubers. A project to animate the VTubers of VSPO has been announced, and the staff is quite impressive. The director is Hirano from Mushoku Tensei, the assistant director is Mori from Susu no Frieren, and the character designer is Nagano from Bungu Stray Dogs, with Pine Jam handling the animation production. What's interesting is that since they are VTubers, there are existing illustrations of them. There is a version where professional voice actors provide the voices for these characters, which will be broadcast normally. However, if you become a member, you can listen to a version where the VTubers themselves provide their own voices. I had never heard of such an attempt before. I wonder how this will turn out. How densely will they produce the VTuber content? Will it be 12 episodes? Will it depict their daily lives? Or will it take place in a completely different world line? It might even turn into something where they seriously compete against each other. But it's still hard to say for sure. There are still many patterns possible, but since nothing has been announced yet, I'm quite curious about it. One of the best-selling women's magazines in Japan is called Anan. Recently, Anan has become quite oriented towards otaku culture. I've appeared in it a couple of times myself. I've been featured in discussions about manga and anime, and it seems that the cover of Anan will feature Dandadan's Okurun. To be precise, I think it's a special issue. It seems to be something like a special edition of Anan. Well, is this considered a graver? Isn't this almost like Newtype? I mean, it's a bit strange to mention Newtype here, but I believe the November issue of Newtype is also about Dandadan. It's interesting that there are people who buy both Newtype and Anan. It really is a different era now. Also, I went to Abu Dhabi and haven't seen it yet, but there were voices of joy that surpassed the comedic moments in Prince of Tennis, saying, "Isn't that too big?" And "What do you mean?" I guess it might be about pudding. I think that's probably it. I don't know since I haven't seen it, but it seems that "Isn't that too big?" was finally aired in the anime, and the reaction has been very positive. I think news should convey things like this, but it seems that the movie Look Back will start streaming on Prime Video from November 8th. That's pretty early. So what does this mean? Is it worldwide or just in Japan? Does Prime Video control it globally? Does it vary by region? We should look into that. We don't know after all. For example, we have no idea what's happening in Italy. Is Prime Video available in Italy? It might be that people there have never heard of watching anime on Prime Video. I would like to know such things, so I apologize for the inconvenience, but there are people who have sent this information. If possible, could you let us know where you are watching it from, Andrea? If Gerald is listening this time, that would be great too. Is it Crunchyroll in the US? I would be happy to hear about how Look Back is being handled. Speaking of which, there's another work called Uzumaki by Junji Ito, a world-renowned horror manga artist, which is a masterpiece he created. To put it simply, it's said that Jujutsu Kaisen was inspired by it, and Akutami Gege himself has mentioned this in the manga volumes. Interestingly, Uzumaki has actually been adapted into an anime, which started a few years ago. In Japan, it will be available for streaming on Netflix starting this December. By the way, it is directed by Hiroshi Nagahama, who is truly one of the most amazing directors in my opinion. For example, he worked on Mushishi. And if you want something more recognizable, Flowers of Evil is really impressive, as well as Detroit Metal City. He is the kind of person who met Stan Lee and said, "I want to do this." And Stan Lee responded with something like, "If it's Nagahama, let him do it." Reflection. The work that Nagahama-san was involved in has now resulted in Uzumaki. It's amazing. I saw the trailer, and that manga, Uzumaki, is scary with its artwork. However, even though Uzumaki consists of still images, there's something about it that feels like it's moving. which is frightening. That sensation has been transformed into animation. I thought it was incredible. It will be available on Netflix in December, and I will be appearing in it. I'm currently working as a news anchor delivering weather updates, and I haven't seen how it turned out yet, but it will be available in December. Apparently it's already streaming on some site in America, and my name, Hisanori Yoshida, is credited, but I can't watch it yet. I'm looking forward to December. Well then, this concludes Yoshida Hisanori's Japan Anime News powered by Newtype for today. For those who would like to share their thoughts on the program on social media, please use the hashtag JAnime. Whether it's feedback on the show or anime news, it would be really interesting if you send it in. I think this is the first time I've received an email from Italy. I've received emails from overseas a few times when I was doing podcasts, but this is my first time, and I'm really happy about it. Moreover, it was worth creating English and Chinese versions of the promotional material for this show, which was recorded in Japanese. Really. So, I believe that anime is something we can talk about together and find interesting, so I would love for you to participate. Well, so far, if you look at what's being posted on social media with the hashtag JAnime, you can see things like the opening of Yawara and Odoru Pompoko Rin being shared. This seems to be unrelated to us and is likely people enjoying Japanese anime. The email address is janime1242@com, janime1242@com. So, we'll bring you the latest anime news again next week. This is Yoshida Hisanori from Nippon Broadcasting. By the way, do you know about the person from Albania? Apparently someone from Albania really loves Steins Gate, and when they met someone, the conversation suddenly turned to Steins Gate, and they said "tuturu" to that person. Among that person's acquaintances in Albania, the most famous Japanese phrase is "tuturu."
Tokyo Music Lab music trivia you can use starting tomorrow.
Okay, do you know Aerosmith?
Of course I know.
Do you know the name of the vocalist? Do you know why it's so acclaimed musically?
Oh!
Did you know that they love Japanese taiyaki and eat it before concerts?
What? Regular distribution every Monday and Thursday, and chat session Tokyo Backstage every Saturday. Search for Tokyo Music Lab in your podcast app.
Don't miss it.